Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm invited to the Institute of Environment and the School of Public Health, so I decided to start to talk about money. You shall always choose a topic which your audience is not so good at, you know. That's what I found out. So I was thinking of starting quite brutally here and looking at money. I picked 5 countries: United Kingdom, United States, Sweden, Japan, and China. And the year is 1800. The size of these bubbles is the size of the population. The Chinese bubble is there, the Japanese is there, the Swedish, United States, and on top of everything, United Kingdom. This is the year 1800. We are going to move to 1900 to 2000 and beyond. And what we are showing here is GDP per capita, how much money people are earning on average in these countries. And I put it on logarithmic scale. This is the sort of rubber scale that we use for money. 1,000 there, 10,000 up there. That means that we have compressed the incomes of the rich and we have sort of stretched the income of the poorer countries here. And it's a sad fact, in 1800, Sweden was on the same level as Japan and China. And the United Kingdom was on top there. And they couldn't understand the Tea Party there in Boston, you know, why they had left it. Why would these guys here, you know, who were poorer, want to leave the crown, you know? That won't go well for them. So let's see now what has happened over these last 200 years. I will also use a projection up to 2015 from the International Monetary Fund. Here we go. What happened to these countries? You know, did they do well? We start ready, steady, go. Here we go. Can you see China is not doing well at all here? Sweden is trying here, but it's UK which is on top. United States is trying to get up here. They are soon finding oil. Here's oil. They're catching up. China is going down in a revolution. And Sweden is trying to lead Japan back. Here my ancestors go away to Minnesota because it's much better up there, you know. And they try to get up. And now you can see United States is on top here. It's the First World War. Between the war, this was the recession, and United States is now better. It's absolutely on the top of the world. And here Japan come. Look at the catch-up of Japan. And then China is down here in misery and communism, and then they start their growth, and look what is happening, and they are just catching up. There we are. I've also developed a very advanced method of economic projection. You know, you can go to McKinsey if you want other projection, but I use a very advanced, I use a stick like this. And I see where China is going and where it's going to hit up there. Can you see there's a little blip? I think my stick is too short here. There's a little blip on United States. Can you see there? It's like a little doorstep falling down. It's the Lehman Brothers doorstep, you know, which went like this. And then it came up again. It's interesting to see that this crisis, which was felt so terribly and which threw so many people out in unemployment, was actually on historical scale quite a small thing. The important thing is not the length and the size of the recessions. It's the growth in between that tells you what level you are living on. It's the growth in between. And the interesting thing is that this was the trailer. This is the feature film. It's called China. It's exactly the same speed by which they are catching up. And for us, it's also interesting to see here that Sweden actually is the Japan of Europe. Sweden's development is closer to that of Japan than it is to that of the United Kingdom. It's a small pine forest area up in the north so far, so no one bothered to occupy it, you know. And it kept its independence, and then it made it on the back of others. So Sweden actually was that. The Danish people say that Asia starts in Malmö, they say, from Copenhagen. So it's really quite true. And what this shows us, I think, is we have had that idea about the Western world which is so much ahead and the others will not catch up, and we label Japan Western just to get away with the fact of that Japan was catching up in such a magical way. Let me change one of these axes here. I will change the axis down here. First, I take ourselves back to 1800, and I change this axis to number of children per woman. And then I deselect those countries. All this software and this data set is freely available on the net. You can download it. This is where we were 1800. All countries of the world had between 4 children per woman, 5, 6, 7, large families. They had very low income. They were poor with large families. Young couples got many children and invested a little in each child. And then there was a big risk. Would they survive? Would they not survive? And the world changed in the following way. When I grab it like here, you can see some countries took off. They got richer up there and they got smaller families. And we got a world that diverged. The West took off. Mainly West Europe, North America. Look, America here in the top. Rich with 2.5 child per family in 1930. And then we go off to after the war, and we come here to about 1960 here, 1950, 1960. Then the world was as separated as it has ever been, and it ever will be. We had really one group of countries here with large families and they were poor, and the others here, they had small families and they were rich. And then this has changed in such a tremendously fast way. Just look at how family sizes have changed. Here we go. And here we are. And which one is this? Which country is this? 1 child per woman. It's Hong Kong. It's the only part of China where Mao Zedong did not reach with his 1-child family. That is the only part of China that has 1 child per woman. So when we talk about bedrooms, don't think that politicians and religious leaders have such a great power. Bedrooms is something different. Japan is there. South Korea is there. Very, very small family sizes today. Singapore is there, 1.26, you know. And you find Islamic Republic of Iran, 1.78 children per woman. And up here you find Ireland is there, Norway is there, 1.89. Much more children per woman in Norway than in Iran. And Iran has good data, very good data. I personally know the professionals who is gathering this data. Now, we can go back again and we can look over to see that many people say you need economic growth to get small families. Let's just compare United States here with China and India. And we go like this. Can you see that China and India eventually made it to small families at much lower income levels? Had the countries of the world sat and waited to reach the same economic level as West Europe and North America until they would get 2-child families, we would really have billions and billions of more people in this world. They reached small family at a distinctly lower economic level. How was that possible? How was that possible? It was not that they got the same economy that made them have small families. So I changed the income here to life expectancy, the length of life, the public health indicator number 1. Down here, short life, up here, long life. And this is India again, and it's China, and it's United States, and let me pick, that was Ireland. I think we should have Norway is there. Let me show you Norway here as an example of West Europe. And there we go. Here you see something different. I stopped at 1972. I was planning 1968, the year that Paul Ehrlich published The Population Bomb. What we saw here then is that while most of the countries in the world, they got small families at a lower income level, but they had a much better health. Can you see? They had a life expectancy of 60 years and still had big families. So it means that the sequence of progress in West Europe and North America and in the rest of the world is completely different. In the West, with United States as the engine in the train, it was money first, and then it was health, and then it was small families. In the world today, it is health first, then small families, and then money. Because look here, when I take this away to show you the general pattern. The general pattern is here, that the separated world, in the Western world and the developing world, changed by them getting healthy first and then small families, and how fast it has gone. India, 2.6 children today. Bangladesh, 2.3 children per woman. And actually India with 2.6 is already reproductive level. You know, when you have a life expectancy of 65 years, 2.5 children is what's needed to have stable population over a long time. So we have had an amazing change. Paul Ehrlich should be happy because everything has almost happened. But here we see the problem. Look here, Afghanistan, 6.5 children per woman still today. And next to that, we find Congo, 6 children per woman. These are the two countries that have the fastest population growth in the world today, Congo and Afghanistan. The poorest countries suffering most from conflict. That means that leaving children to die, avoiding to provide vaccination for children will not stop population growth. That point we passed 50 years ago, and yet the most common critique that Bill and Melinda Gates get is, if you save the poor children, you destroy the planet. There's no ethical problem with that one, because it's bloody wrong. It's just the failure of school training and understanding. We are not at that point any longer. The countries which have 6 children, only 2 dies, 4 survive, and they double in 1 generation. But there are very few. In fact, almost 85% of mankind are living in countries which are below reproductive level. And this is very important to understand. Now, what I could show you here after this is go back once more. And the reason that population grew was, of course, that the countries got healthy. And I can do another of my favorite, is that I take income per person back on this level down here. And this one, what I did in the BBC video, I showed that all countries were poor and sick down here. Can you see? They had little money and they had short lives. And in the top here was once more United Kingdom and the United States trying to follow. You know, and what this happened, it's just to get the right pattern of it. Look the direction that the United States take, and then look at the direction that China takes here. And we would like to have. No, I think Sweden is down in an embarrassing position there. You can really understand why they went here. To me, see, Sweden was down there, you know. And then when we took off here, you can see Sweden never catched up economically with the United States, but catched up in health. And China is very late to move, and then they move to health first. And then this amazing growth starts. That's where we are today. And Sweden can boast that if you want to be healthy, live in Sweden. You want to be rich, live in the United States, you know. The choice is yours. It's a little boring just to be healthy, I can admit. So let me try to find my way here. This was embarrassing. More than 10 years ago. VOLVO didn't make it. Don't laugh that hard, you know. This is painful for us. This is painful. I'm sure that's an early immigrant from Sweden, you know, would laugh like that to us, you know. But I will laugh back. Just wait and see. We were embarrassed. But after all, it was America who bought Volvo, and Ford is a great company, so they would make something great of it. This is how it looked some month back. And we said, bye-bye, here China comes. Ford sold Volvo to China last year. It was a shock in Sweden. It was an eye-opener. At the same time, Saab was acquired by the Netherlands, a Dutch company. Today, Saab is going down. They've stopped producing because they can't pay their bills since about 10 days ago. Volvo is hiring. They're hiring 1,000 engineers in Gothenburg now. The Chinese company is expanding in Sweden. It's absolutely contrary to what we thought. And it's an eye-opener. It's like, we can present statistics on environment, you are fighting for that. We can do it on economics, we can do it on health. It's when it happens in front of the eyes of people, then we realize that something has happened. The mayor of Gothenburg say, I won't go to the States on holidays any longer, I have to go to China to understand. This is very, very interesting what has happened to Sweden. And this is how the rest of the world looks like. The N11, not the BRIC countries, the next two are coming. In Vietnam today, you have father and mother and 2 children on a motorbike. In Mexico, you have 2-child families. It's the norm in Mexico today. They are building their home here. In Bangladesh, the most common family is 2 children like this. This is the world today. And I have found it the worst ignorance we have about population is the world, that we haven't realized that what we discuss, whether it's possible in the future, has already happened. We are already there. The bedrooms are modern. The young couples have what you nicely call pillow talk. They make love and they whisper in each other's ears, we shall have 2 children. We shall buy shoes, guitars, football, and once our little family should go to the beach also. This is how the world looks like today. And how would we be able to understand this new world? I'm going to show you a new population graph which we have developed here. This is the world in 1960. In 1960, we had children. Look, it's like a population pyramid. We just added boys and girls on the same side. This is 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10, and this on. Look, the population pyramid of the world 1960. This is what scared, which rightly scared Paul Ehrlich, you know. And he said we had 3 billion people. I remember this day. It was my teacher told me we had 3 billion people in the world. And she said 2 billion of them live in the developing world. This was 2 billion, you know. And 1 billion lived in the Western world. And they were distinctly richer. There was a big gap between them. This was how we acquired the view of the world. The West and the rest. Or the West and the developing world. We looked at it like this. And population were growing. So what happened? Since then, since I went to school, 1960, this has happened with world population. Look, the number of children increased, they increased. You see something happen there? From 1990 to 1995, the number of children between 0 and 5 decreased. Then it was a little increase there, and we went on here. And basically what we see happening in front of our eyes is that the number of births per year in the world has stopped growing already. The countries with 4 to 6 children for women is compensated by the huge countries that have less than 2 children per woman. And the United States is just in the middle, neither contributing that direction or that direction. The number of children growing have stopped. But while that happened, we became 4 billion more in the world. The world population has doubled during my lifetime. And it's these numbers that makes us so scared, you know. And some of these people, they got richer than the other boxes. So why 2 billions are there, they landed here. And this one got richer and moved over here, and this one acquired Volvo. So more or less like this, you have the world today. And what will happen in the future? What are we about to see now? We have a projection by IMF of 2% growth by this. They will grow from here to here. This one will grow from here to here. Get ready. They will come on top of you. But they won't bypass you. United States is not going backwards. West Europe is not going backwards. It's the others which are catching up. And watch out, Institute of Environment, because these people, their acquisition of more wealth is a bigger challenge to the environment than the increase in numbers. And this one, we want them to go from here to here. We want them to have electricity to get a better life. Otherwise, they will grow. They will still grow with another 1 to 2 billion people. 2050, we will be like this. There's not much we can do about it. We had a little smaller box here, but this may probably be a little bigger. This is more or less how the world will be. Or probably in the future, it will come like this. It's very, very difficult for this group to realize that they become integrated in the world. And the world will come above. And we see here what will happen in the future over here. Can you see? But the important thing is the number of children doesn't grow. It's the number of middle-aged and old people that is growing. And the age group that is really going to increase from now to 2050 is us. 60 plus. The future belongs to us. Thank you. The whole club supported me here. That's why it's not possible to avoid the next 2 billions, because they are already born. It's forbidden to deny Holocaust, and it should also be forbidden to propose Holocausts. If you say that world population should stop now, you suggest killing, whether you understand it or not. There's no way. We have to prepare to be 2 billion more in this world. And what will that mean? You know, what will it mean in income distribution? Let me go here. I'll go up on full screen. I will show you, this is the world's income distribution. I've taken away countries now. This is Javier Saleh Martins, professor in economics in Columbia University, who has estimated in the best way possible the income distribution. The size of this pyramid or this mountain is the people of the world. This is the people who live on less than $3 a day, less than $2 a day. This is 100 a year. And these are the rich people, $10,000, $100,000. And I see the billionaires, the Forbes list is over there, you know, somewhere. And if you look at this list, you can look here. You see, this is in 1978. This is urban China. And this is United States of America. Almost no overlap. Almost no overlap. There was not even... almost no person in urban China that was as rich as the poorest 2% in this country. And this has happened. We have about 1/3 of US population today has a counterpart in urban China that earns the same amount of money. So even if these Hong Kong people only get 1 child, they increase their consumption so enormously. So that's why I advise you, don't focus on size of population when it comes to the environment. It's much more important to see how the individuals consume goods and use energy. Population is not a real issue for it because it's so little we can do about it. Less than helping the poorest billion to get out of poverty and getting their family sizes down from 6 children to 2 children. Let me show you. This is the last billion. These are women who carry home water, who carry home firewood. They are the Mayflower life, the life that created Thanksgiving, that is striving every day just to put food on the table. This is the last part. They are the one who give birth to 6 children today. They can't send their children to school. They don't have vaccination yet. They live in the rural areas of the poorest countries. That's where they live. Not in the urban slum, in the rural areas of the poorest countries. And they love economic growth. This woman told me she loved economic growth. This is economic growth, a wheelbarrow. A wheelbarrow is economic growth because I let them increase their income a little here. You can look in between there. She takes home 3 containers of water instead of 1. She increased her productivity 3 times. That's economic growth. She used a wheelbarrow with ball bearings. Industrial revolution came to her life. This is living without industrial revolution. This is living with industrial revolution. And you can get out of poverty. This is from one of my TED Talks. This woman, we did research, she's from Malawi. She's bringing her products to market and said, thank you for the school. The aid organization contributed. Thank you for the mosquito net. I have a healthy child. And thank you, World Bank, for the infrastructure loan, which gave me the paved road. And thank you, technology, that brought the cell phone to our village. Now I know the price of the products. And I love market and even more employment. I would like to have a steady work. And microcredits were fine. I bought the bicycle with microcredit. And of course, I want security and my human rights. People spend too much time discussing which of this she needs. She tells me she wants the whole set. And if you are leftish in Sweden, you know, you want school, health and infrastructure. It was sort of, I put it to left and painted it red there. You know? And if you're market liberal, you want the blue stuff there, you know. Technology, credits, markets, you know, and rights, you know. The good society managed to balance government and market and civil society. That's the good society. I have a seminar for my students and I say, those of you who doesn't like governments, you sit in that corner and discuss Somalia. And those of you who doesn't like market, you sit in that corner and discuss North Korea. The rest of us sit here in the room. We know how to get out of poverty. We know how that can be done. This can be reached. The poorest billion can be reached. That's not. We shouldn't spend too much money on contradicting them. We were discussing today how you could evaluate aid. You have to realize how small aid is. It's very small. This is the risk, you see. This is what you are studying at the Environmental Institute, isn't it? There can be a collapse, you know, of the richest countries. And the others can turn out to be more stable, you know. And we put it like that. Bill and Melinda Gates, generously and clever and smart, donate $3 billion a year to the health of the poorest 2 billion people. How long time does it take for China to accumulate that in their foreign exchange reserve? They give $3 billion a year. It takes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 3 days. The cost of the Iraq war in money, I take away the human suffering and the sacrifices and everything that in money for taxpayers in the US, that's what China accumulate in only 3 months. It's an enormous amount of money that exists in the world, you know. This can be done. We can take people out of poverty, you know. You can look at the world here. I try to have as my main message to realize that there is no two types of countries any longer. There are countries all the way. If you want to draw a line between the West and the rest, the developed and the developing, it's almost impossible. It's like a small line. Can you see up there? It's like a little line in between. But if you look at this line where you think you have the division here, you find the Czech Republic on one side and the Slovak Republic on the other side. The world is continuous today. We have to think about it in a completely different way. This graph is available. I have some paper here. You can download it. It's our default graph. And you should instead think about the high-income countries there, the middle-income countries there, the low-income countries there. You can grasp that the world has changed. And I will end by telling you what happens on the 15th of November 2008. And I'm going to honor the President of the United States. Because there's many great politicians, you know, like Roosevelt and Churchill who decided to win the war and they won the war, you know. But there are also these politicians like Gorbachev, you know, who had all the power and said, communist no good, let's stop it. De Klerk in South Africa who said, apartheid no good, let's stop it. And now I'm going to honor George W. Bush, seriously and correctly, because he did the thing like that. When he was this terrible, you have some nasty expression, lame duck you call presidents. How can you say such a thing about the president? That's what you can tell royalties, you know, that they are lame duck, but presidents are elected. What did he do that? He had no money. He needed money. He went for the pocket. There was no money in the pocket. You know, he had lowered the taxes. There was absolutely no money. And he said, what should I do? He really got a headache. This is called the Lehman headache. It's a very, very severe headache for a president, And he talked with the G7. The G7 used to help him. They looked up to him like this and they said, we have no money. Northern Rock, we have to save Opel. We have to save, there is no money. We can't help you. And then he did what I honor him for. He phoned a socialist Latino trade union leader and said, President Lula da Silva, does Brazil has any money to lend us? Yes, we have, Lula da Silva said. Can you come to Washington and discuss about how we can help? Yes, I can, he said. And he came to Washington, and on the 15th of November, the G20 meeting was led by George W. Bush here. He had realized that there was a new world. Can you see him standing there? The headache is gone. He's standing here. He has a Muslim there. He has a communist there. He has a socialist there. And he sort of, can you see, he sort of leans to the socialist. It's very interesting. And he's really happy. And this is great. This is really great. I'm joking, but this is serious, It really did this. And it's sort of nice because Lula da Silva is 100% democratically elected, So he should lean to him, but he's not the one who has the money. The money has this guy who has the lowest democracy score in the whole world. Saudi Arabia is lower than North Korea. And the Chinese communist leader. They have the money. And they were borrowing money. But the very fact that they got together, that was good. You can have a fact-based world war. This marked the end of the Second World War. This marked the reorganization to the new world when we have the boxes in a completely new way. We try to help in Gapminder to upgrade your worldview. We picked the name from London Underground there, Mind the Gap, And we tell everyone, Bush did it. You can do it. Thank you very much.